You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to The Spectral Zone with host Kaz Rooney.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Spectral Zone on Parasearch Radio. I'm Kaz Rooney, and tonight I'm being joined by Kerry Greenaway.
Hi,
Hello,
love.
Kerry.
You right, love?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. Good in the hood.
And tonight we are talking about the elements and paranormal activity.
We are. Apparently so.
Whose idea was this?
Yours.
Was it? Are we sure about that? Right.
100% sure.
Well, actually, it's quite a lot you could cover in this. So, do we want to start with actual elements? Like air, fire, water? Right, let's start with fire.
Okay.
Well, fire's used, isn't it, for scrying?
Mm.
So, it's helpful in paranormal activity. Or helpful contacting spirit, if you look at it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this earlier on, and I was thinking, okay, so fire. I mean, I suppose if there's been a fire and someone died, or it's just a traumatic event kind of thing, but fire scrying, I was thinking. Yeah. But generally, you wouldn't associate fire with activity per se, so unless it was linked to the history of the building.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, the sort of, in regards to the fire element, I would work with, hi Bear, hi, how are you? Sorry, just saw Bear in the chat room. I wouldn't necessarily link fire with, say, unless it's regarded in the history of a location, or I was doing something like fire scrying, then I wouldn't necessarily link fire with paranormal investigations or paranormal entities. I mean, I'd use fire in regards to if I was doing a ritual or a spell, it's part of that kind of working, but I wouldn't use it necessarily in an investigation, which is sort of where we're sort of looking at it from that angle, aren't we?
Yeah. I mean, I've never gone to an investigation and someone's tried fire scrying at it.
No, but you have to be careful with fire on locations. They're not a fan, are they?
No, I don't think they would be quite happy with us using
just set a great big bonfire up in the middle of the courtyard. You know, they don't even like you using candles, particularly at locations. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them.
There is quite a lot of places ban candles, actually.
I don't blame them. The insurance is nightmarish anyway on these kind of locations. And you are not going to risk your location because someone's been, like, you know, not looking after the candle properly. I mean, there was an incident, wasn't there, at Drakelow Tunnels? Oh, I'm sure it was Drakelow, where somebody had used candles and put them on a... Hi, Luke. Put them on a windowsill, and it had burned and caused damage to the location.
Oh. See, that's not good.
No. So I don't blame anybody for not wanting to bring the element of fire into an investigation.
Yeah. What about water then?
See, I think water's an incredibly important part of paranormal. I really do. The more I'm looking into it, water seems to be a huge factor in regards to paranormal in all of its forms. We're not just talking like pools of water or wells or anything like that, but even fog or a misty rain or rain, any of those, anything that's linked to water. There is a huge increase, I would say, in activity, and you will get three factors together. I found in regards to the water. So you have to have water, you have to have a high mineral content, and we'll get onto that later, and then you have to have certain atmospheric conditions going on. In my opinion, it's just from what I know, but water does definitely seem to be a high factor in regards to hauntings and like paranormal, in my opinion.
Well, they do say that water is actually a conductor for spirit.
Mm-hmm. They do say
and
that.
It has actually been documented that there is locations who have no water supply that have recorded activity, and one of the activities they have actually recorded is like pools of water just appearing within the building, and there's been nothing there. They've had no water supply to put it there in the first place, but it's just appeared.
Yeah.
I know a certain location that says it gets pools of water, but they do have a water supply. So...
Yeah, but even then I've looked into that, and there's no real reason why pools of water should appear, but it's quite common in poltergeist activity.
Yeah, it is.
Pools of water appearing from like nowhere. There's quite a few famous cases where pools of water have appeared. But I've always, whenever I've been looking at like cases, I suppose, there's always been some form of water, even if it's like an underwater, an underground form of water. You know what I mean? So it's not even on the ground, it's underneath the location or something like that. So in my opinion, water is an incredibly huge factor. I don't think that in homeopathy they've looked at it and they say that water has memory, and in this case I don't think that it's water holding the memory of like ghosts or spirits or whatever. I don't think it's that. I do think the structure of water does change. I think they've looked at that quite extensively, and it is, has been shown in photographs and in research. And so they looked at it in regards to homeopathy, and they showed that water does hold a memory. But in regards to hauntings, I don't think that's the property that is integral to why it's important in regards to haunting. I think there are other properties water has that are more important.
Right, here's a little thing for you. I mean, I don't know if anyone goes to a spiritualist church at all, but 9 times out of 10 of a spiritualist church, when they're holding the service, whoever is being their speaker, whoever is the medium there, watch the people that are sitting up the front with the medium. They usually have a table, they usually have a jug of water, they usually have glasses to put the water in.
Yeah.
Watch the jug of water. When the service starts, watch the jug of water, and 9 times out of 10 during the service you'll see the water's moving.
Oh, I've never noticed that when I've been to a spiritualist church. I'm going to have to... I don't go that often, but from now on, I'm not going to be watching the person up front. I'll be watching the water.
Look at the jug of water. 9 times out of 10, it's moving and no one's anywhere near it.
Ooh.
I noticed that years ago. Have you never noticed that?
No, I don't go to them that often, though.
Yeah, true. I haven't been in 2.5 years, something like that.
I was going to say, I can't even remember the last time I went. The last time I actually was in a spiritualist church was for an event with my crystals, but it wasn't a service or anything. So, yeah, I very rarely go. I don't really... Yeah, I just don't go.
Moving on to air. Well, air is important when you're investigating because we need oxygen. So
Well, yeah, helps.
it helps. What are your thoughts on air?
I think, well, obviously we need it. Duh. I think with air, you have to be very careful because it's not so much the air, it's what could be carried in the air. So, like, if you've got something like carbon monoxide, which is odourless, that can make you think that you're having, there was a famous TED talk where the woman was, the lady, I can't remember the lady, and I think her name was Poppy, was talking, and she thought she was being haunted. She thought she had an entity in her home. And she went down the spiritualist route and she smudged her house and she did all the things. And in the end, it turned out to be carbon monoxide. Hi, Ellie. It turned out to be carbon monoxide poisoning, which was actually making her feel like she was having this activity. And in actual fact, it wasn't. It was just carbon monoxide. So I think that in regards to air, you have to be careful in regards to, what you're actually breathing in. But I do think smell can be very important. How often have we been on an investigation and we've caught a smell, but it's a smell that, I mean, they do say that when you investigate, you shouldn't be heavily scented. You shouldn't wear perfume. You should, have neutral body deodorant on. Yeah. But, you really should not wear too much. Your clothes shouldn't be overpowering with washing powder. All of those basic things. I'm not saying don't be clean, but you know where I'm going with that. Yeah. Because if you get an unusual smell, then at least your team has got a neutral smell base, as it were. But how many times have we been on an investigation when we've caught a smell that wasn't there before? So that's in the air.
That's very true. I can think in at least 4 or 5 different investigations I've been on where somebody smelled flowers and there's been no flowers anywhere near the place. My gran, believe it or not, this is going way back, my mum's mum, she didn't wear makeup, but she would wear face powder.
That's got a very distinct smell.
And do you know what? For about a year after she passed away, every now and again we would smell this face powder. Mm-hmm. But she never ever wore makeup, but she wore this face powder. Yeah. It's the only thing she ever wore. And we could smell it every now and again. You would just smell it and you go, oh. Because none of us ever wore it apart from her. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I was on an investigation and we smelt pig burning, like pig flesh burning. Not roasting pork, but. No, I don't smell things when I do readings, Bear. Sorry, I just read that in the chat room. Sorry, no, I don't get the smell thing when I do readings. I just tend to see in images more than anything else. But anyway, back to this. There was like this burning, porky kind of smell. It was really, really strong. And so we were like looking at, people had been out for a cigarette. Had they burnt their hair? You know what I mean? It was there. Yeah. We went outside. Was the smell outside and coming from, I don't know, a local pub down the road, or was somebody having a barbecue by the riverside or something like that? No, nothing was outside. Yeah. And it was so strong inside and we couldn't place it. But we could all smell it. It was really, really strong. And when I moved into my first flat, I said, as I walked through the door, now bearing in mind this is a brand spanking new flat, brand new carpets, brand new paint, nobody had lived there before. And I walked in there, excuse me, and I literally walked in and went, oh, I can smell my granddad, because there was a particular soap he used to use. It was like a coal tar soap. And it was really distinctive. And I walked in and I was like, oh, granddad's moved in with me.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a really distinctive smell.
And I can't remember the name of it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was like bright yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that soap. He used to use that, and I always associate that smell with him. Yeah, so when I moved into my flat, that was incredibly prominent in my flat. And literally, I say we were literally carrying boxes in, and I don't use that soap. I use a different type of soap, you know. Yeah. And it was so strong. It was really strong. So yeah, I think air is very important in regards to smell.
Yeah.
And obviously breathing.
Yeah, obviously breathing. The most important one, I think, is earth. Because no matter what you do, we're connected to the earth in some way. And it's what is in that earth. What memories are in that earth as well. What has been there before, hundreds of years before. That energy is still there 9 times out of 10 and can have a drastic effect on your investigation.
Oh, I totally agree with that. I mean, I'm a crystal and mineral kind of girl. I definitely think that we always do, when we used to do investigations, we always used to do geology checker on what was, what the land was before we went to the investigation. Yeah. But it is, I find that incredibly important to know the lay of the land, as it were.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, you've walked to places, you might have been really excited to go there, walked in and went, don't like it, want to leave. And 9 times out of 10, I put that down to whatever's been there before.
The thing is, I think you can do that with a friend's house, though. There are times you can go and it will feel like a warm, cosy, welcoming environment. And then you could walk in the next day and just know they'd had a massive row.
Yeah.
They might be acting completely normal. See, that I class as just an emotional signature that's left in the air, not so much the earth. But I do find earth incredibly important. I mean, what's the best thing to do if you're feeling like down or lost in yourself or confused or something? They say go for a walk. Go out, get into nature, ground yourself. Those are terms that are used time and time again. And it does you the power of good. It really, really does. I mean, one of the things we talk about in regards to depression is actually go for a walk by the sea or, a salt water thing, because the mixture of grounding, the air with salt in it, is incredibly cleansing. It's absolutely completely revitalising. And we encourage people to, I say we, we're encouraged to do that. You know what I mean? To get out. I'm lucky enough I live by the sea, by the seaside.
Yeah.
So, I'm very lucky. I know not everybody can do that. But get out in the country. Go hug a tree. No, maybe not literally, but, it's those terms, and they're incredibly grounding. I do think the earth itself is an incredible tool that is not utilised enough. And, the history that sits on the land is important. But, get down, look at the geology of the area, find out where the water sources are, find out where what the base elements are within the earth, because they're not the same wherever you go.
No, they're not. They change.
They change.
They change.
And when you start looking at those sort of things, you start noticing correlations.
Yeah.
Where things are supposed to be more active.
Look at places like Stonehenge, Pendle Hill. Both, energetically speaking, are very high, very, very, very high in energy. That's all to do with what is being stored in that earth there, in that place. And it doesn't seem to lessen with time. It seems to increase, which is quite bizarre. But I think with the amount of people who go to these places, that's why it increases. The energy is being fed. Because, have you ever been to Pendle Hill, Kerry?
No, I haven't been to Pendle.
If you went to Pendle, it's the one kind of place you wouldn't want to leave.
Probably.
I think knowing you, it's the one kind of place you would just love it.
Yeah.
You would literally be in your element.
I probably would, yeah. I mean, I have to say, it is on my bucket list, my huge, huge bucket list. There are a few places that I just know. I mean, I have to say, I love the Isle of Wight. I absolutely adore the Isle of Wight. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I keep going back there, because I go there and it feels like home. It feels like I've gone home. Now, that's a really interesting location. When you break it down, it's almost like an island of two halves. Half the island is limestone, and the other half is more sandstone. and the side that tends to have more lime in it, limestone, tends to be more paranormally active than the southern part of the island, which is sand. So there is a difference, and I find those kind of things really, really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I really, really do. Having said that, a lot of people go, "Oh, it's quartz content."
Yeah.
It's the quartz it's not. When you actually break it down, quartz, yes, it has this electrical field that we all talk about, and everyone goes, "Oh, it's the quartz in the area." There's only 12% quartz at land level, believe it or not.
Okay.
And there's only 20% of the Earth's crust that has quartz in it.
Ooh.
If you go somewhere like Gettysburg, there's no quartz at all.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Right. So you could then go, okay, well, so logically it can't be anything to do with quartz in that area. But there is a mineral that is found in 90% of the Earth's crust.
Okay.
Which is silica.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You know, it's very rare to find silica in its natural form, like complete raw form. But it makes up so much of the other minerals that it may not be one specific mineral that's important. It could be several, a combination of different minerals that's the important factor in regards to the Earth. And that's the side of it I find fascinating.
Yeah.
You know, in regards to Earth. But I just find Earth energies, we've talked about this before with like ley lines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Energy lines. I find that side of it completely fascinating. Like we talked about Stonehenge. And that crosses, I think, if I remember rightly, 2 major ley lines cross at Stonehenge. Yeah. And a lot of the churches are based on the energy points on ley lines.
Yeah.
Norman Fay's work is very involved with that.
You know the biggest mistake people make when they go to Stonehenge? They go to Stonehenge and they think, oh, we're going to go and see Stonehenge. And they go and they literally look at Stonehenge. They go in, they pay the money, they get on the little bus and they get taken round to Stonehenge. Mm-hmm. Get off the bus. You're allowed to get off the bus and go walking through Fargo Woods. Go through the woods. And beyond Stonehenge, there is other mounds are all connected to Stonehenge, and they stretch out. They really, really stretch out. But people don't go exploring them. They just go and see Stonehenge. Yeah. Uh-huh. If they actually went and explored further afield, they're going to find that there is an awful lot. That energy isn't just around Stonehenge. It's around these other parts as well. That whole area is covered in them.
And it interconnects, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's all on ley lines.
Uh-huh. No, I totally agree with you. I mean, the other thing that I've always wanted to do, which I don't know if I'll ever get the chance to do, is just go and look at some of the sacred pools that are not they're off the beaten track, as it were, but they're on what they call fairy paths. They call them fairy paths, if you know what I mean by that. And generally they follow ley lines, right? Yeah. And half of them have completely forgotten about and not visited. They're not massive touristy sites. It's those kind of things I'd like to visit. And when I've been to, not many, but a couple, they have a very specific energy. And the legends that surround those are absolutely phenomenal. You know, so broaden your horizons, guys. There's loads out there.
Well, this is the thing, though. I mean, people get caught up in the Pendle Hill. We'll just go to Pendle Forest and we'll go and we'll camp. Stonehenge, we'll go and look at Stonehenge, and that's they don't go further afield. Luckily, when I did go to Pendle Hill last year, the people that I was with actually live in the area. So we saw a lot more than most people would actually do if they just went to Pendle Hill. We went, I was with Ribble Valley Spirit Walkers and Lancashire Paranormal Investigation Team. Tracy and Diane both live in that area. So they know an awful lot of the history and an awful lot of little places that are connected to Pendle that people necessarily wouldn't go to.
That's a lot of it, though. I agree with you. I think don't narrow. You know, if you know somebody in the area, ask them to take you out if they will, because they will know the the not so well known areas. Lay down. They will know the not so well known areas, or the famous bits. You know what I mean? And that's really important. I love exploring. I love getting, even in a building, I like looking at all the nooks and crannies, not just the rooms that I've been caught a couple of times, like when I've gone to big houses, just sort of like going through doors I shouldn't have gone through, and stuff like that. Just because I'm nosy more than anything else. But you'll be surprised at what you find. You know, you know what? One of the best things I could do would be Natural History Museum, backstage.
Yeah.
I'd love to explore that. Because they have a warehouse that loads of exhibits are in that never ever get seen.
Do you not know anyone that can talk you into there?
No, trust me, I've been trying for years on that one. But it's like the backstage. You know, it's, if you think of it as a theatre, you've got like your front stage where you've got the stage. It's like the main show, isn't it? And you're the spectator, and everybody goes and sits in the stalls and then watches the main stage. But behind the scenes is a lot more interesting than what goes on the centre stage.
Yeah. And
that is, you know, quite integral, even in regards to investigating. You have to look deeper. You have to look behind the scene. You have to look behind what the well-known history is. The amount of times what's put on that stage, and I'm talking in an analogy, you understand, everybody?
Yeah.
What's behind that stage is not always what you thought it was going to be to start with. That's why research is so important. And it's not just about the history of the place, although it's incredibly important history, but it's verifiable facts. Back up what you find. And that does mean you're going to have to trawl through a load of archives and stuff like that, and geology reports. I mean, I've never looked at so many geology reports. I'm not a geologist. These mean nothing to me. I look at them and I'm going, oh my God, that looks like gobbledygook. Right? But then you start reading and you start learning and you start, all right, you might only be baby steps. I'm not sitting here saying I can now read a geology map. I can't, but I can get a basic understanding now, which I never used to be able to.
Yeah.
And I find those sides of it really, really important. As much as Annie died by falling down the stairs because her husband was having an affair with the maid. You know what I mean? The history is important, but the other side of it is just as important, I find.
Oh, it is. I mean, whether we like it or not, whether we admit it or not, the elements do play a part when we're investigating. And we maybe don't always acknowledge that, but maybe we should.
Oh God, we should totally.
Maybe we should pay more attention than we do.
Totally. I mean, one of the things people say is mark down your weather conditions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Must do that. We do temperature inside. Yeah. Write down your weather conditions. What was the weather like on the day? What was the wind direction?
Yeah.
What moon cycle was it? Was it daytime? Was it nighttime? Time spans. Do you know what I mean?
It matters.
I mean, it changed, particularly in the UK. You could start an investigation early evening, bright sunshine, right? Beautiful summer's evening. By about 10, 11 o'clock, you could have a mist roll in. Not a heavy mist, but just a bit of a mist coming in because the moisture in the ground is rising up, the heat of the day, you know, it happens. Right? Yeah. So then you've got a mist. Okay, so mark it down. Yeah. Then by about 1 or 2 in the morning, you could have a light shower.
Yeah.
By 3, 4 in the morning, it could be warm again. You know, the ambient temperature outside, the weather conditions, particularly in the UK,
change so quickly.
But everyone does their baseline tests, normally on the internal of the location. Do them on the external too. Don't forget your externals. Because they're just as important as the internals. And mark your weather conditions down throughout the evening. Do that and start building up a picture of what's actually going on in the location before you can turn around and say, well, at 2 o'clock in the morning, there was I can't even say the word tonight, an anomaly. Yeah, there might have been an anomaly. Well, it was different from my baseline test that I did at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, but since that's happened, You've
What's
had
changed?
exactly. There's probably been quite a bit that's changed.
Yeah.
You know, in your environment, whether that be internal or external, particularly in old buildings.
Yeah.
In your home, you could sit there dead quiet. You know the sounds of your home. You know the central heating system noise when it clicks and when it on and off.
Yeah.
You know that the stairs creak at certain times as the house, we call them house settling noises, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? In your own home, sometimes even that can be a bit freaky.
Yeah.
You imagine being, you're in a location, don't know the location from Adam, and all of a sudden, you hear a bang.
Yeah.
You go, the door's just slammed, so-and-so. You go running off. It could just be a natural noise that the environment has created because of the external conditions. If you've not logged them, how can you know that?
That's true.
I mean, some of these old floorboards in these places are absolutely, oh God, they're creaking like an old woman's joints, aren't they?
I've actually been in locations where they didn't have floorboards.
Oh. Okay. I bet that was fun.
Doors that you could walk across. The whole time I'm thinking, please don't let the doors go through.
Yeah, oh my God.
I'm going to end up in the kitchen. I'm going to end up in the kitchen. But yeah, it is. I mean, especially, it's not just the UK, it's all over the world. But in the UK, we do have some incredibly old buildings.
Yeah, really old.
Do you know what classic one? The Old Jerusalem is built almost into a cave system, which in Nottingham, which the castle is near. The castle is there, and the Old Jerusalem is down here, and it's kind of built into the cave system.
Yeah.
And sitting in, there's one room in the place called the Snug, and you can hear the wind howling when it gets late at night. But you can see a tree directly outside of this window, and the leaves are not moving. And it's wind actually going through the cave system.
Yeah.
But somebody completely freaked out when we done an investigation there because the wind was howling. And we had to point out to them that the leaves weren't moving on the trees. It's actually the wind going through the cave system that the building is built into.
Yeah.
They stopped
But
freaking out.
that's a natural phenomena. Yeah, that's something that's just, it's like acoustics in a place, amphitheatres. Romans built them because of their amplification properties in that way, not because they were pretty. They built them because they actually amplified the sound for the actors on the stage so everybody could hear what was being said. Cave systems, like you say, it will create a natural wind form throughout it. And actually, as you walk through, it's not... Some cave systems have a standard set ambient temperature. Some don't.
True.
Depends on the level you're at in the ground. Depends on where it is. It's really hard to be disorientated in cave systems.
Yeah.
As you walk through, I'm thinking Cheddar Gorge, right?
Yeah.
So you go through Cheddar Gorge. Some of it's really damp. Some of it's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I went into a tin mine once down in Cornwall. That was well weird because the different feelings you got in different places that they were putting down to activity when actually it was nothing to do with that. It was just down to the way that it had been mined, the different water levels in regards to where it was in the mine, and also how deep you were as well at different times. It felt... Some places felt very oppressive. Some places felt quite light. It was very strange as you walked through this tin mine. It was very strange. But it's those sort of things that you have to take into account, which people kind of go, oh, it's paranormal, or I'm getting a feeling. And you may not be getting a psychic feeling. You might just be getting an atmospheric feeling. It's a completely different feel.
Yeah. That is very true.
You do have to be careful.
One thing, I've got to guide you onto this because this is my kind of thing. Haha. Thunderstorms.
I love a thunderstorm.
I love a thunderstorm.
We don't get nowhere near the thunderstorms that they get out in America or somewhere like that, do we?
Do you know, I have actually said in the past I want to move somewhere where they have really, really, really good thunderstorms.
But not too good on a regular basis, because, you know, they're a bit scary too.
That would absolutely thrill me to bits. Literally, I would just live somewhere where they thunderstorms 24/7. It wouldn't bother me in the slightest. But I believe that thunderstorms, I mean, the energy levels, some people get scared of them, some people don't like them, some people hate them completely. One of my kids actually runs and gets puts headphones on, earphones on and music, and she's been like that since she was a child. She absolutely hates thunderstorms. Tiniest little flash of lightning, that's it. Off she goes running to put music on, I think, in case it starts thundering.
I think the one thing with a thunderstorm is it always will evoke an emotional response in somebody. Yeah.
But I find for me, it builds up my energy.
I love them, I have to say. I get excited.
So do I.
Thunder and lightning. And if I can be awake and watch it, even better.
Yeah. I have actually, if I've been very, very tired or very, very low, I have actually went on YouTube and put on a thunderstorm. And you've got ones on there that go for like 8 hours.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and I just leave it playing really loudly.
Mm-hmm. But if you think... Of course it does, because if you think a lightning bolt, it can deliver about 300 kilovolts.
Wow.
That's a lot of energy being condensed, isn't it?
Yeah, that is true.
And you've got that going on in the atmosphere. I mean, you'll be surprised if there are maps that you can get, like live maps showing you all the lightning strikes across the globe at a time, and you'll be shocked at how many there are going on. They don't all ground. Sometimes they're like so high up they don't get seen. But when you actually look at how much electricity and voltage is built up in the atmosphere, it's hardly surprising that the charge in the air is so much more.
Yeah.
You know, just don't play golf if there's a lightning around. Just so you know, guys and girls. Not being sexist there. Just don't play golf.
Well, I mean, how many stories have we heard about people who have been... I'm sure, where was that story I read? It was about 2 years ago, there was a girl was struck, I'm sure it was a girl, was struck by lightning. But she had her iPod on. Mm-hmm. And the lightning got directed to that, got attracted to that and hit that instead of her. And it saved her life.
Wow. Blimey.
It actually saved her life.
But even lightning grounds.
Yeah, true. But how many stories have we heard? I mean, do you think it's the whole cliche thing that you've seen horror movies and there's been thunder and lightning and a big storm and something bad's happened? And
I think because I think the thing with that is, I mean, there is that movie, iconic, it was a dark and stormy night. Kind of scenario. But I think that's come in because it evokes an emotional response from people. 9 times out of 10, fear factor. Because don't forget, in the olden days, a storm would usually become an omen for something bad that was going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, so if it was a particularly bad storm, then it sort of, you know, creates a bad image, doesn't it? It's like, oh God, we've upset the gods. You know, it comes from that kind of belief system. So that's probably where that's evolved from, I would probably say. But I say a thunderstorm will always evoke an emotional response of some kind in a person. Mm-hmm. More so than, it's raining. It's like, oh God, it's raining. You know what I mean? It's not It's not, oh, it's a thunderstorm, or oh my God, it's a thunderstorm. I personally love a thunderstorm. I'm not scared of them, but there's only one occasion I've actually been terrified, and that was we had thunder snow.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all.
Why?
I had no idea. I don't think it's because I probably had never seen it before.
Do you know what? That actually happened this year, didn't it? We had that this year.
I don't think I had it down here. It was a couple of years ago for me.
No, we had it here this year. We had a thunder. I actually put a post on Facebook. Only in Doncaster could end up with thunder and lightning and snow at the same time. Because it was this year.
Yeah.
Because I was sitting thinking, going, what's going on?
Yeah, I have to say that's the only time I actually got really scared. Hi, Ashley.
It never ever scared me at all. It's never scared me. I love it.
A springtime, a summer storm are the best. We had a couple of years ago, we had a band of storms that came over, and it was like night after night after night. And where I live, the amount of people that were just sat up on the seawall with their cans of beer and proper chavvy, cans of beer, bottles of wine, watching these storms pass over, because they were just storm systems going across. They weren't rain.
Yeah.
But some of the lightning was absolutely amazing. The fork lightning was absolutely fantastic that was going on in the sky. And where we could see, because where I live is right out in the Thames estuary, you could see right out into the sea. And North Sea. Mm-hmm. Just making sure I got the right sea there. And that was phenomenal, but we don't often get that kind of storm in the UK. Whereas, like, I talk to Jay, and he says, oh, God, what you get is nothing compared to what we get.
See, that's the thing.
I've never investigated in a thunderstorm.
Do you know what? I was just about to say that. Neither have I.
I've never, ever been able, or not been able to, but I've never that's never happened while I've been out investigating.
Never had the opportunity. It's never...
It never has happened. You can't really sort of plan that, can you? Not really.
Well, maybe we should ask Jay where we need to go to investigate.
Yeah.
There's more chance of a thunderstorm.
But we don't want a heavy rain, because that's going to ruin any... That's going to ruin the night. We just want the rumbles of thunder and the flashes of lightning.
That's all.
Yeah, that's all we want. I mean, people talk about moon cycles, don't they, in investigations? Are they important, do you think?
Oh, God, yeah.
Why?
Yeah. The energy level is so much higher when you've got a new moon or a full moon. It's just through the roof.
Oh, well, of course I know this. If I'm going to do ritual work, generally I've blanked out my diary I tend to prefer full moon for my own personal workings. That's personal preference. I mean, I know you can do it on the waxing or the waning, and there are spells that you can do at various times of the month. I get that, guys. I know this. I know this stuff. But for me personally, if I'm going to do an intense ritual, I will always do it on a full moon. Yeah. Always. Yeah. Because for me, the energy is at its highest, and I will do that. So that for me is personal. However, investigating-wise, I've not really noticed any correlation between a full moon and activity.
Yeah, but again, it's that cliched images portrayed in movies, isn't it?
Again,
it's a whole werewolf and moon thing.
But if you think the gravitational pull of the moon on our water, the tides, bearing in mind we are made up of 90% water? Yeah. It's a high percentage, isn't it? It's going to have an effect, and it is reported that there is more problems like fights and unusual behaviour and aggression and accidents that happen on a full moon than at any other time of the month.
I maybe shouldn't really be saying this on radio, but I'm gonna.
Go on then.
I used to actually date somebody, and literally his mood swings as it came to a full moon. But actually got to a point where I refused to see him if we weren't near a full moon. I would not see him until it passed. Literally, that's how it can affect some people. It really can.
I agree. No, I do agree with that. And as I say, there have been studies done on that which has shown a correlation in regards to full moon and weird behaviour in people. I did find out an interesting fact.
Well, there you go. I mean, the moon stabilises Earth's rotation as well as the tides and water and everything else. It's still stabilising the Earth's rotation, so it's got to stay in that cycle as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did find an interesting fact regarding geomagnetic storms. A recent report, I don't know how recent this was, but a report suggested that the low-intensity electromagnetic field of geomagnetic storms, which cause disturbances in the Earth's magnetic field, may have a subtle but measurable influence on the suicide incidences in women.
Really?
Allegedly so. So is it not actually anything to do with weather conditions? It's more to do with the geomagnetic forces on our electromagnetic fields?
Well, I think that comes into play with all elements.
Exactly.
To be fair.
Exactly.
Here's an interesting fact for you. The actual lunar cycle takes 29.5 days to complete, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is actually 2.2 days longer than it takes for the moon to orbit the Earth. Explain that.
Oh, God, you want to talk about stuff like this? No, I can't explain that. Not right now.
But, I mean, it is important. All the elements are so important, but we don't really pay... It's not we don't pay...
No, we don't pay as much attention as we should.
We really don't.
We should do, though. Because all of these factors could build up a picture as to why it triggers possible, alleged, disclaimer alert, activity. Or, even if you don't look at it as regards to spiritual activity, maybe the frequency in your mind to manifest that.
It could be it's imprinted in our minds that certain things will happen during a full moon or things are going to happen when there's a thunderstorm or whatever as well.
Didn't Tesla, this is one of my favourite quotes, think of the universe in terms of energy, frequency and vibration.
Yeah.
If you get those three things in the right combination at the right time, who's to say what effect that would have, whether that be on your own mental mind, brain, electrical signals, or whether that's on the actual environment which is creating that, who knows? But I don't think you should discount that. And those things, those three factors, would all be built up from your natural environment.
Yeah.
Not necessarily your, the day-to-day environment. Although that may play a bigger factor.
Yeah.
I don't know yet. But it's interesting concepts.
It's a power of suggestion as well, though, isn't it?
Oh, I think that's a huge part of it, to be fair. If you're told that there's... you're dropped in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. You're told that the place you're dropped at is incredibly haunted and you've got to last the night in this location. Mm-hmm. And, all right, for us hardy investigators, we go, yeah, great, bring it on. But for everyday normal person, straight away you've got a fear factor in there. Mm-hmm. Straight away the suggestion is this place is haunted. Yeah. That's a huge, huge factor in your mental mindset when you go into a location.
I do actually know of a location that does state that when it rains and when it's stormy weather, the activities ramp up and they make a big thing about it. But I'm not sure how true that is.
So basically then, every time you go in there, if it rains, you immediately, whether or not you consciously do this or not, but in the back of your head, you know that activity is supposed to ramp up at that point. So the power of suggestion can be an incredibly powerful thing.
Exactly.
You've only got to think of the placebo effect, haven't you? This pill is going to work to make you better, when in actual fact it's only a sugar pill. It's not actually going to do anything at all.
that was discussed when we were at this location, and we actually ended up having a Welsh investigator outside saying maybe we should do a rain dance. And I was like, no, I'll leave that to you, thanks.
Go back, carry on with that. Yeah, if you know how to do a rain dance, you carry on. Yeah, I'll just sit here and laugh. But no, I think the power of suggestion is an incredibly strong thing.
It's...
You know, particularly when I don't like it when you first turn up to a location, the caretaker's trying to be helpful by doing a walk around and going, this is this room, this is that room, this is the next room, this is supposed to happen in this room, or, you know.
To avoid those people.
Yeah, I do too, because I don't really want to know. I don't want to have those suggestions put in my mind. I mean, I have to say, one of the funniest things, and I saw this in action, was we was at a fort, and it had been used in a location, it had been used in a film. Yeah. And I was talking to the lady, and she was saying, she goes, the one day I believe that there's a proper psychic in here is the person who comes up and tells me what film this building was used in the film. And I turned around and I went, it was used in, and I sort of mentioned the film, I thought, and she was like, oh my God, I didn't think it was too hard to work out, quite frankly. It was like a literal wild stab in the dark. It was a pure guess. It was not a psychic ability at all in any way, shape or form. Yeah, it was a pure guess. And she was like, oh my God, you're so good. And I was thinking, first of all, you told me that there's a film that's been filmed here.
Yeah.
Right. Secondly, my brain is then going, oh, I wonder what film that is, and going through all the films that I do know that might possibly fit the location that I'm in. Right? So my brain is already on that wave pattern of thinking, oh, I wonder what it could be. No, luckily enough, I'd seen this film, so it's not like... So somewhere in my brain memory, it had connected dots to bring it forward. I'm not saying I went, oh, I recognise it because I watched that film. But somewhere in my brain, it's remembering all the various films and dislocations, history, and, you know, all the rest of it. And all of a sudden, I just came out with the name of this film, and she was like, oh, my God, you're really good. And I was thinking, no, I honestly believe that was a thought pattern process. That wasn't me being psychic. That was just a thought. You'd put it in my head that there was a film that had been filmed there. Mm-hmm. It's not like I come out the blue and gone, wow, I seen a film set here. I think it was this. And she hadn't mentioned it, but she'd already put that thought pattern in there. So the power of persuasion is incredibly important.
Sorry, there's a child interrupting me.
I wish you guys could see what I see. There's faces being pulled and waving hands and all sorts going on. It's a bit like me when I do my lives and a child walks into the room.
So basically, you weren't actually... You just guessed it.
Yeah, it was a pure guess. But, like I say, those... Also, the other thing is visual clues in regards to your location.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're talking environment and elements, and we've gone off elements a little bit. Yeah. But, you know, if you look at visual clues while you're in a location, it can give you so much more information than you give credit to.
Yeah.
If there's bars at a window, straight away, it was a cell.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm just trying to think off the top of my head here. You know what I mean? I can't think of any more examples off the top of my head because my brain's foggy still. But you know what I mean? Little things like that. But your brain is taking all of that environmental information in and giving you those clues without you even realising it. That's without the stuff you can't see that your brain is actually taking note of. I mean, what was it? Your conscious mind is only taking in 40% of the information in the room. Your subconscious mind is taking in I can't remember the statistics off my head. I do apologise, but I've got a foghead on today. It's like 40,000 pieces of information. There's a huge difference between what your conscious mind and your unconscious or your subconscious mind is taking in. And again, you have to be aware of that, because who knows what other information your brain is taking on in regards to your subconscious. It could, you don't know. We don't know. It could be taking in things like atmospheric conditions, electromagnetic fields. It could be adjusting to those all the time, and we haven't just looked at that or explored that. So the environment and the elements that are surrounding you could have more of an effect on your mind and mental state and the information you're taking in than you gave credit for. Oh, I'm going off on a little waffle.
That's okay.
Sorry, I do that.
That's okay. So, we agree then. I mean, you've got, when you think about it logically, your senses are taking in so much information. The elements around you, the elements in the air and the earth around you are going to play a big part in your investigation, whether you acknowledge it or not.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally. Totally. That's why you should research your location in regards to not just the history, but the geology of the location, where your water sources are. Well, you shouldn't just do one baseline reading at the beginning of your investigation. You should do continuous baseline readings throughout. You should be marking down weather changes and weather patterns throughout your evening's investigation if you're going to do it properly. You know, it's a lot more data collection than it is EVP sessions or spirit box sessions or dare I say K2 sessions. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot more to it than just doing those, because they're fun. They're the fun bit.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
You realise now that Ashley Nib is probably sitting in the chat room. I can't see the chat room now, but he's probably sitting there going, data collection.
He gets very excited with his data collection, as our Ashley. The last comment he actually put was werewolves.
Yeah.
So I think he fell off his chair at the werewolf factor. But I think, you should do a lot more data collecting of the environment than you should, because the elements do have a huge importance in regards to paranormal investigation, in my opinion.
In my opinion too. Pay attention to your moon cycles.
Yeah, things like moon cycles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pay attention to them. They do matter.
Yeah, totally.
They very much matter. Do we have a competition running?
Not right at this moment, we don't. No, we've got a new one going live, I believe. Is it next week or the week after?
Okie dokies. I just wanted to check that because I forgot to ask before we came on air.
Yeah, no, not at the moment. I was in discussion with somebody and didn't pay off, but hey-ho.
Okie dokies. Right, do you want to tell everybody about the Sharing and Caring event? Or shall I, before we go away, before we disappear?
Yes. Well, the Sharing and Caring event is an event that Parasearch Radio would like to bring everybody in onto. It's on the 18th of May next year. You've got a whole year. Okay? So, we want you to go out. We want you to organise an event for the 18th of May that is a charity event, raising money for charity. You guys raise your own event, sort your own fundraising out, but Parasearch will help support you in that and help promote that event for you and give you any, help you with any details or anything like that. We want to do this globally. We don't just want to do this in the UK. We want to pull everybody in. Oh my God, so many ideas on what you could do. You don't have to do a great, big, massive investigation, although you can if you want to. So many other ideas are coming forward from people for this. If you listen tonight on Paramania, we go live at midnight UK time, 7 p.m. Eastern time on Paramania. We're discussing this in a lot more detail, so you'll have loads and loads of ideas if you listen to that show tonight. That is live tonight, midnight. It gets replayed next Monday on Parasearch Radio, so don't worry if you miss it. It'll be replayed on Monday. So many ideas are coming forward. We want everybody involved. We want the spiritual field, we want the academics involved, we want authors involved, we want paranormal teams involved. You can do whatever event you want. Mm-hmm. You
don't even need to be working in the paranormal field. You just need to be somebody who's interested in the paranormal.
Yeah, get involved. We want everybody.
You don't need to be working in the field. You can just be
18th of May next year. So many ideas are coming forward for this. We're getting such a great response from the paranormal field out there. The teams are actually loving this idea. We want everybody out investigating on one day of the year, or doing an event on this one day next year to raise money. The charity will be of your choice. So it's purely a self-contained event, but under a bigger banner of Parasearch Radio. And we're going to be doing radio shows. We've got so much planned for that day to highlight this amazing event. So, don't forget, listen to Paramania tonight. You'll hear more and more about that. And it's been launched. If you want to register, then go over to parasearchradio.com. There is a form that you can fill out. Let us know what your event is. Let us know what team you are, what event you're doing, what charity you're raising money for on that day. We will be able to then start adding you onto the list of who's involved and what they're doing and where. So if we get people saying, I really want to attend an event, where is it? Where's my local event? We've got those events in one place so we can direct people to it. It's going to be absolutely awesome.
And also, if you register, if you decide you're just going to do a sponsored event and get your friends to sponsor you, I don't know, dress up as a ghost for a day.
Yeah,
whatever.
It could be something really simple. It doesn't have to be a massive deal. But it's just about raising money for the charity of your choice, all under from the paranormal people community, whether that be you're just somebody who attends an event, whether that's a team, whether that's somebody who writes about ghost stories, whether that's a psychic who goes out, whether that's a spiritual worker who's, spiritual centres. How many spiritual centres are there around? Get them involved. There are so many ways of doing it. As I say, tonight, Paramania, midnight UK time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Tune into that. You'll get some great ideas. You'll get to hear more about the event. Yeah, you'll get to hear all about the information. So that's gone on. Don't forget, guys, Parasearch Radio is on YouTube as well. Check that out. Don't forget, click, like, share, subscribe. I love that. I have to do the motions with that as well.
She's actually doing the motions. I'm sitting here watching it.
I'll do the little motions on that one. Don't forget, check us out on YouTube, guys. Anyway, this is Casey's show, not my show. I've taken over again. Sorry.
Anyway, so please pay attention to the elements when you investigate. Yeah?
I agree with that.
Pay attention. Log it down. Does matter. Anyway, we're going to wrap this up, so please remember you can listen to all of our shows. They're on Podbean, they're on SoundCloud, they are on YouTube. Obviously, you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Twitter as well. Are we on Instagram yet?
Nah, well, kind of. We're under our own sort of names, really.
Yeah, we're all under our own names. We couldn't be, nobody thought to set up a Parasearch one.
I have so many socials, it's untrue. Can't keep my filters straight. I don't know where my filters are going.
But remember, all the shows are on YouTube, so if you miss any, you can go back there and you will find them. They're all there in all their glory. Go listen to them. And get involved with the charity event.
Yes, do that.
There will be surprises in store that even Kerry doesn't know about yet.
Oh, surprises. I love a surprise.
You might not involve you. Anyway,
oh, God.
Good night,
Good night.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.